Okay, so let's just say you just had like a really amazing first date.
Yeah,
The kind where you can't stop thinking about it.
right.
And you get home and you're like, okay, now what?
Yeah, what do I do?
How often should I text them?
It's the question that haunts us all.
It's the modern dating question, right?
Absolutely.
In the digital age.
Yeah, and today, we're going to help you crack the code a little bit.
Yes, we are.
We are diving deep into texting frequency in new relationships.
Yes, we are.
Using this great article we found by Shawnee Finn.
Yes.
How often should you text someone you just started dating?
Catchy title.
Yeah.
We want to help everyone listening understand the nuances
Sure.
and maybe even discover some surprising insights.
Yeah, I think this article has a few.
So it's not about becoming like a texting robot.
Oh, no.
There's a little bit more to it.
Way more.
Okay, so
One thing Shawnee really emphasizes is that texting is just one part of your communication.
right.
It's part of the strategy, especially early on in a relationship.
So it's like you wouldn't call someone 20 times a day
Right.
when you first meet them.
Exactly.
So you shouldn't be texting them 20 times a day either.
Probably not the best strategy.
Okay, so this isn't about playing games either.
No.
It's more about showing the other person that you really value like quality interactions
Exactly. It's about showing them that you value their time.
and that you have something interesting to say.
For sure.
So does that mean
Yeah.
we shouldn't bombard them with texts
No, I don't think so.
every 5 minutes?
It's funny because Shawnee's advice is so much deeper than just quality over quantity.
Oh, interesting.
She talks about being really intentional with your messages,
Okay.
not just filling the airwaves,
Oh, got it.
like you're actually trying to share something meaningful.
I'm starting to see where this is going.
Yeah.
So it's more about showing that you're interested
Yes,
and also that you're interested in what they have to say
absolutely.
back to you.
Right. And so instead of these kind of meaningless, hey, what's up texts, think about sparking a real conversation,
Okay, I like that.
something that will respect their time.
Spark a genuine conversation.
Yeah.
So Shawnee also talks about boundaries in the article,
Yeah.
which I think is really important.
Super relevant.
What do we mean by boundaries in the context of texting?
Well, a big one is just understanding that everyone has their own texting rhythm.
Right.
And so don't assume that someone doesn't like you just because they don't text you back right away.
Like within 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Phew. Okay, good to know.
I know, right?
That's a relief to hear.
Because we've all been there,
Yeah.
overthinking the silences.
So what does it look like to actually respect someone's response time?
Well, I think it can be things like not sending like a million follow-ups
Okay.
if they don't respond to your message within a few hours.
Okay.
Or even just like paying attention to their texting patterns.
So kind of mirroring their style.
Yeah, until you get to know each other a little better.
I like that.
It goes both ways, though.
What do you mean?
Like, if you need some space to respond,
Right.
you should say that. Like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm really busy right now, but I'll text you later.
Talk to you soon.
Right, exactly. So you're setting a healthy precedent
Oh, that's great.
right from the beginning.
Okay, this is already making me rethink my entire texting game.
Good.
So if texting frequency isn't about some magic number,
Yeah.
how does it actually change as the relationship goes on?
Well, think of it like chapters in a book.
Okay.
As your relationship progresses,
Right.
so does your communication style.
So less is more in the beginning,
Yeah,
but as you get closer, you might text each other more.
precisely.
That makes sense.
It's really interesting because as your relationship gets more comfortable,
Yeah.
the texting frequency changes too.
Wait, so are you saying that we could almost predict relationship success?
Well, some researchers think so.
Really?
Yeah, there are some studies out there
Wow.
that suggest there's like a correlation between texting behavior
Okay.
and relationship satisfaction. But of course, it's not a perfect formula.
Right.
There are a lot of other factors
Of course.
in a relationship.
Okay. So we have to talk about this research later.
Absolutely.
But first, I really like this point that Shawnee made in the article about texting being just one part of communication.
Oh, for sure.
There's so much more to it than just texting.
Right.
Like you said before, we still have phone calls,
We do.
and we have video chats,
We do.
and in-person dates.
Yeah, sometimes we forget about those.
I know. It's easy to get caught up in the texting vortex.
Yeah, for sure.
And you forget that it's so nice to actually hear someone's voice.
Or see their face.
Exactly.
Like in person.
Yeah, and I think all these different ways of communicating are important.
Absolutely.
They each bring something different.
Right, like texting is great for quick updates.
Right.
Or sharing a funny meme.
Which we all love,
Right.
but a phone call
Yeah,
that can show so much more emotion,
exactly.
and you can't replace that feeling.
Mhm. of being with
of an
someone.
in-person connection.
Exactly.
Right.
You can't beat face-to-face.
I agree. So Shawnee gave some really interesting tips
Oh, yeah.
for making texts more engaging.
Okay, let's hear them.
Even if you're just sending a quick update,
Yeah.
she suggests adding some variety.
Okay.
So instead of just saying, hey,
Right.
or what's up,
Yeah.
you could share a funny anecdote
That's good.
or an interesting link
Oh, yeah.
or
Like a
even
meme.
a meme.
Yes. A well-timed meme.
Exactly. And she also emphasizes being clear
Yes.
and concise with your messages.
Especially when it's something important.
Right. Because it's so easy to misinterpret
So easy.
when you're just looking at text.
You don't have the tone of voice.
Right.
Or facial expressions.
Exactly. And no one wants to feel like they're trying to decode a secret message
Oh, for sure.
when they're just trying to build a connection.
Right.
Speaking of decoding,
Yes.
Shawnee didn't mention voice notes.
Ah.
Where do those fit in?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Because I feel like that's a whole other level
It is.
of an intimacy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, is it ever too soon to send a voice note?
I think it depends.
Right.
I think you have to be at a certain level of comfort with
Yeah.
someone to send a voice note.
So maybe it's like stage 2
Maybe.
or stage 3 texting,
after you've graduated from the quick texts
right?
to like actual phone calls.
I like that idea.
But again, communication is key.
Yeah.
So if you're not sure, just ask.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Like, hey, are you cool with voice notes?
Simple. Simple. Okay, so we've talked boundaries.
Yes.
Quality over quantity.
Mm-hmm.
We even dipped our toes into voice notes.
He did.
And this is already so much more insightful than just my texting anxiety.
I'm glad.
I feel like I'm learning a lot.
Good.
It's making me think about late night texting.
Ooh. Yeah.
Is that a whole other minefield
Oh, it definitely is.
of texting etiquette?
It's a big topic of debate,
Okay.
even for the most seasoned daters. We are going to dive into that in our next segment.
I can't wait.
Stay tuned. All right, so late night texting,
Here we go. Right.
it's a big one.
It can really spark a debate,
Yeah.
especially when you're first dating someone.
Because it can be seen as flirty and exciting,
Right.
but it could also be like a boundary issue.
Exactly. Like, how do you know
Right.
when it's
Is there
appropriate?
even a right answer?
It really depends on the context.
Okay.
And of course, communication is key.
Of course.
So Shawnee didn't specifically talk about late night texting,
Oh, really?
but I think we can figure out
Yeah.
what she would say based on her other points.
All right, so let's put on our detective hats.
Okay.
What do you think Shawnee would say about late night texting?
Well, I think she'd probably start by saying
Yeah.
that you have to be mindful of the other person's sleep schedule.
Oh, that's a good point.
A late night text might seem sweet to you,
Right.
but it could be super disruptive to them.
Yeah. Nothing kills the mood, like waking up to a text at 2 a.m. when you have a big meeting in the morning.
Especially when you have a big meeting.
Exactly.
Or you just really value your sleep.
Yeah, and it also goes back to respecting boundaries.
Right.
So if you know your partner likes to disconnect
Yeah.
in the evenings,
Well-
maybe save those late night texts
Yeah.
for when you're a little further along.
When you have more of a texting rhythm.
Exactly. Like you're learning each other's texting love languages.
Oh, that's good.
Right.
Okay, so there's another layer to this too.
What's that?
What about the content of the message?
Yeah, that's a great point.
It's not just about when you text,
Right.
but it's also what you say.
Exactly.
So like a late night thinking of you is way different than a you up.
Very different vibes.
One is sweet and one is,
A little more suggestive.
yeah, a little bit more like a booty call. But ultimately, it goes back to intentions
Yeah.
and how well you know the other person.
And being honest about those intentions,
Right.
nobody likes to be led on.
No, absolutely not.
And I think especially through text,
Yeah.
it can be hard to read those signs.
It's like you have to crack a code.
It is a bit of a code.
Right.
But like any code, there are patterns
Okay.
you can learn to recognize.
So if we kind of zoom out for a second,
Okay.
what does all of this tell us?
About texting.
Yeah, about texting in a new relationship.
I think it really shows that it's a delicate dance,
A delicate dance.
especially in those early stages.
Where you're trying to find the right steps.
Yeah, and the right rhythm together.
I like that.
It's about reading those cues,
Yes.
responding thoughtfully,
Being open.
and adjusting your approach as you go.
So it's kind of like emotional intelligence,
Yeah.
but applied to texting.
I love that.
And speaking of emotional intelligence,
Yes.
we have to talk about emojis.
Oh, yes. The emojis.
They can be a lot of fun,
They can.
but they can also be tricky.
It's tricky.
Like a little sprinkle of emoji
Yeah.
can add a lot of flavor,
Right.
but too much can kind of
Overwhelm.
Yeah, overwhelm the whole thing.
Ruin the dish.
Right.
That's a good analogy.
I think Shawnee talks about emojis
She does.
in the article, too.
She does.
She says it's really important to pay attention to them
Yes.
because it can be so easy.
To misinterpret.
Right, to misinterpret tone
Yeah.
when you're just texting.
Sure.
Because like a simple, hey,
Yeah.
can mean 1,000 different things.
Right.
Depending on what emoji you use.
Like a winky face.
Totally.
Versus a heart emoji.
Versus a thumbs up.
Very different.
Right, like the thumbs up can feel...
Cold.
Yeah, cold and impersonal.
Especially early on.
Yes, especially early on.
When you're first getting to know someone.
It's like we're all learning.
We are.
This new language of emojis.
The language of digital expression.
And some of us are more fluent than others.
For sure.
I've definitely had some emoji mishaps.
Oh, I'm sure we all have.
Oh, yeah. Like that time I accidentally sent the eggplant emoji to my boss.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it was not good.
But you know what we can learn from those mishaps?
What's the...
They can teach us
Yeah.
about emoji etiquette.
Okay, so how do we avoid those emoji faux pas?
Well, Shawnee says use them sparingly and thoughtfully.
So kind of like
Yeah.
bolding or italicizing certain words
Exactly.
in a sentence.
That's adding emphasis.
Got it. And be mindful of your audience.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Because what's funny to one person...
Could be offensive to another.
Right, and especially early on.
Yeah.
You don't know their sense of humor.
You don't know their style.
Exactly, so it's better to be cautious.
For sure.
I'm thinking about the evolution of texting.
Oh, me too.
Like, back in the day, it was all about T9 keypads.
Do you remember those?
Yeah.
Typing out LOL on that tiny keypad.
It took forever.
Right?
But now we have GIFs.
We do.
We have memes.
We have voice notes.
We have a million emojis.
So many emojis. It's like texting is its own art form now.
It really is.
And with all these new tools.
Into new rules.
Right.
New etiquette.
Okay, so this is making me wonder,
About?
what other texting trends are out there
Good question.
that we need to talk about?
Well, there's one that's particularly interesting.
Ooh, tell me.
It's called breadcrumbing.
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 Okay, that sounds sneaky.
It can...
Like you're leaving a trail of digital breadcrumbs to lead someone on?
Exactly.
Okay, we need to dive into that.
We have to.
Because I think that deserves its own segment.
I agree.
Especially in the context of new relationships.
For sure.
All right, so breadcrumbing.
It's a fascinating one.
It is.
And a little bit sneaky.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of people have probably experienced this.
Oh, I'm sure.
In the dating world.
Yeah.
Even if they didn't know what to call it.
Exactly.
What is it?
So breadcrumbing
Yeah.
is essentially when you send flirty or suggestive messages.
But you have no intention
Oh.
of actually pursuing a relationship.
So it's like giving someone just enough attention to keep them interested,
Yeah.
but never really following through.
Right. No real plans, no commitment.
But why would someone do that?
That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
I think for some people it's about validation.
Okay.
Like they like the idea of having someone on standby.
Yeah.
Even if they're not actually interested in dating them.
And for others, maybe it's a way to avoid boredom or loneliness.
Yeah.
Without actually having to commit.
Exactly.
So it's about control then.
It can be.
And keeping your options open.
For sure. And I think this is where those power dynamics come in.
Oh, yeah, right.
The breadcrumber has all the power.
Yeah.
And the other person is left feeling confused.
And hurt.
And hurt.
Yeah, this is making me think about all the times I've overanalyzed a text message.
I know.
Wondering, is this genuine interest or is this a breadcrumb?
Right. Like, what are they trying to say here?
It's exactly. So are there any signs that we should watch out for?
I think there are a few red flags.
Okay, tell me.
Inconsistent communication is a big one.
Yeah.
Like, they might disappear for days or weeks and then suddenly reappear with a charming message.
As if nothing happened.
As if nothing happened.
So hot and cold behavior.
Yeah, that's a warning sign for sure.
Got it. What else?
Another one is lack of initiative.
Okay.
So they might reply to your messages,
Okay.
but they never really start the conversation or try to make plans.
So they're happy to keep the conversation going.
Right.
But only on their terms.
Yeah, and if you find yourself questioning their intentions or feeling emotionally drained by the whole back and forth, that's a sign that something's not right.
This is giving me flashbacks.
Right, too?
To some past texting experiences.
We've all been there.
Okay, so what do we do if we think we're being breadcrumbed?
First of all, trust your gut.
Yeah.
If something feels off, it probably is. And don't be afraid to address the issue directly.
Okay.
So instead of playing their game, just ask for clarification.
Be upfront about it.
Yes, be direct.
I like that.
Something like, hey, I've noticed our communication has been a bit inconsistent.
Yeah.
I'm looking for someone who's as invested as I am.
Right.
Where do you see this going?
That takes a lot of courage.
It does.
But it's so important to set those expectations early on.
It is, and if they can't give you a straight answer,
yeah,
or their actions don't match their words,
right,
it might be time to move on.
It's true, because we deserve to be with someone who's actually excited to talk to us.
Right.
Not just throwing breadcrumbs.
And I think this brings us back to Shawnee's main point.
Communication is key.
Communication is key.
It's like the foundation of any healthy relationship.
Whether it's texting or anything else.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive,
yeah,
what's the one thing you want our listeners to remember?
I want them to remember that texting is just one piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
It's not the whole relationship.
It's just a tool.
Exactly, a tool for communication.
Not a replacement for actual communication.
Exactly, so go forth.
Yes.
And text wisely, my friends.
Text wisely.
Use this new knowledge.
Yes.
To build strong and healthy relationships.
Based on respect and honesty and meaningful communication.
Absolutely.
And sometimes the most powerful text is the one you don't send.
I love that.
Sometimes it's better to put the phone down.
Yes.
And connect in person.
Couldn't agree more.
Well, that's all for today's deep dive
into the world of texting.
We hope you enjoyed it.
And learned a few things along the way.
Until next time, happy texting, everyone.
Be text.